Good Sunday morning, everybody. Dan here, Red Sox collector Dan McGraw. Today I am doing a contest response video for Wade Boggs fan, John. First off, John, congratulations on your 250th subscriber. It's quite an achievement. We've been doing videos for roughly the same amount of time. John actually started probably a couple weeks to a month before I did. And he has hit the 250 subscriber plateau already, which is very impressive. So once again, congratulations, John. John wanted us to do a video talking about our collecting history, so to speak, how long we've been doing it, what got us started, did we take any breaks in collecting, what do we collect, those types of things. So mine, obviously, my story is everybody knows what my focus is now is Boston Red Sox, but might be surprised at some other things that I've collected in the past. So, without any further ado, I'll get into my history. And thank you for the opportunity, John. I like talking about this. I've done a couple of videos, I think, about this, at least parts of videos about my collecting past. But I love talking about it because it brings back some pretty cool memories. So, my collecting started back in 1980. I was born in 1974. So when I was 6 years old in 1980, are my earliest collecting memories. We had a little corner grocery store down the street from us that we would go to sometimes multiple times a day. And my mom would send me down there to pick up a few groceries, and she would give me an extra quarter or 50 cents, and I'd come home with a couple packs of baseball cards. I also remember buying stickers back in 1981, the Topps sticker book. And I remember having the album and coming home and opening them up and being like, do I need this one? And I'd peel the back and I'd put it in the spot. And that was what collecting was about as a 6 year old, and I kind of shaped the way I collect right up until today. I wanted to fill every hole. So my collecting as a very young individual started as trying to build sets. Now, naturally, buying a pack at a time or two packs at a time, it was going to take some serious time to build a set. And being that young, I didn't really get allowance that I remember, and I couldn't do any odd jobs around the house, so to speak. So I relied on that, my mom would say, hey, go buy a couple packs. And sometimes I didn't even need to, pick up anything. She'd just give me 50 cents or a dollar and say, hey, go buy yourself some baseball cards. So that's what got me started. And I was born with the collecting gene. My dad has always been a collector, mostly coins, still to this day. He's dabbled in cards. He used to collect stamps when he was younger. He has held on to everything. As far as cards, he, shares the same story a lot of people his age shared. I had tons of baseball cards when I was a kid. His grandfather owned a little convenience store and used to give him and my uncle a grocery-sized bag of candy and baseball cards on a weekly basis. And my dad and my uncle both remember having 52 Topps mantles and several of them. And my dad was meticulous about how he kept them. And then, life happens, and the age-old story. My mom threw away my baseball cards, and that's exactly what happened to both of them. They both went in the service, and when they did, my grandmother got into the cards and threw them all away. They're never going to want these. They're never going to use these. So that story, of course, is shared by a lot of people from that generation, and that's part of the reason why those cards are so valuable today, because a lot of them just got tossed. That's a little backstory on, my collecting genes, if you will, from my father. So moving on in the 80s, I collected as much as I could right up until the late 80s, where I actually started doing card shows every once in a while when I was a teenager, trying to sell some things to get other things. And that's basically what I did. I'd look to trade and do things like that. I remember one of my best trades was actually not at a card show, but at a yard sale that I was doing. My dad used to do a yard sale pretty much every summer or every spring. And I would set up a spot with my baseball cards, and I would sell the cards that I wanted to sell. And I remember a gentleman came in with a stack of cards, and the one that caught my eye was a 1969 Mickey Mantle Topps card. And I did not own any Mickey Mantle cards at that time. And I traded him a bunch of 1986 Topps Commons, like a 3,200 count box. I had bought a ton of 86 Topps that year, and I already had, I think, 4 complete sets, and I had a 3,200 count box of Commons. They were Commons. There was nothing in there. There was nothing good in there. And he ended up trading me that mantle for that box of Commons. That's one of the best trades I ever did. But collecting in the 80s was simple. I tried to build sets, and then as I got a little bit older and had a little bit disposable income, I had started delivering newspapers when I was 12 years old, or 11, maybe even 11 years old. And my father would say, "Okay, this much goes in the bank, this much you keep," and he knew that all my money was going to go towards baseball cards. And when there was a card show in the area, he would let me keep more, and he would drive me to the card show. So my dad was always super supportive. Both my parents were super supportive of my hobby growing up. We didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have extra money that they could just give me for that. So I got a paper route. I worked. And if I wanted to buy stuff, I used my money. And my dad was very good about saying, hey, you're not going to spend all your money on baseball cards. You're going to bank some and you're going to spend some. So I could have had a much better collection, but, I paid for my first car cash because of my father. So there have been many times in my adult life when I wish my dad would have taken my paycheck and said, hey, this much goes in the bank. Pay your bills. This is what you keep. We don't all have that luxury, I guess, growing up. We have to figure that stuff out on our own. But anyway, that was my collecting hobby. My uncle actually started purchasing factory sets from me back in 1981. He bought me the Fleer set in 81 and 82, and then 83 he switched over to Topps, and he got me the traded set every year as well. For Christmas, I would get the factory set, the traded set, and a box of a binder with 100 pages. And so I could choose to either put my sets in those binders or just use it for my star cards or whatever. And 1984, because it came out so expensive, he got me just the Topps factory set, no traded set, because the 84 traded set was expensive right out of the gate because of the Dwight Gooden card. And so I never owned that set, and it didn't really bother me. 1985, he got me the Topps and Topps traded. 86, same thing. And 87, same thing. 87 was the last year that he did that for me, but that was always something I knew I was going to get at Christmas time. So that was really, really cool to get those things from my uncle, and my uncle definitely supported my collecting as well. My uncle was a card collector as well. He'd buy huge, boxes full of cards, unsorted cards. And he passed away a couple years ago, but my aunt still has all his cards. He probably has close to 200,000 cards. But unfortunately, 175,000 of them are from the junk wax era that doesn't even have any good rookie cards. A lot of 91, 92 where there's no big rookies, nothing worth really anything. And, in 92 we didn't have Bowman cards, so Bowman was the only thing in 92 that's really worth anything. 91, there's really nothing that's worth anything nowadays unless you have Desert Shield cards. But I went through the collection after he passed for my aunt and gave her the bad news that, look, he had a few good things. He had an 87-88 Fleer basketball set with a Jordan. He had the sticker set with it. He had an 89 score football set, 86 Topps football. He had an 81 Topps baseball. But for the most part, it was just boxes and boxes and boxes of unsorted cards, and it would just take so much time. And I wasn't even going through the boxes. He had 92 Leaf. There's nothing in there, and I tried to tell her, look, I'm not going through all these cards because there's nothing worth more than a quarter in here. So, and I don't know if she didn't believe me or what. She still got them all. She's just sitting on them. She doesn't know what to do with them. But we'll see what happens down the road with that. But anyway, my collecting kind of came to a halt back in the mid-90s. I would say right around the baseball strike. 94 was really the last year that I seriously bought cards. 95, I backed off. I bought a few packs here and there, but never even built any sets that year. 96, I bought next to nothing. 97, 98, I bought nothing. Then I started getting back into collecting a little bit. I started buying individual players, Hall of Fame players, guys like George Brett, Cal Ripken, Robin Yount, Steve Carlton, Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt, Reggie Jackson, Dave Winfield, Roger Clemens, Wade Boggs, the local guys. And I had like 12 or 13 different players. I was going to shows and just picking the boxes. Okay, well, what do you got for Pete Rose? Yeah, I'll take those 10. And I didn't really have a focus at that point. I did actually start going back, digging out some of my sets that I never completed, and tried to finish some of those sets, and worked on those for a while. And then one day I decided I've got to narrow this down. I've got to decide what I want to collect. And so I decided to go with Dave Winfield, a Yankee, for a good portion of his career. So my house, for a decent amount of time, was filled with Yankee stuff. Hard to believe, as big of a Red Sox fan as I was and still am. And when you look at my collection now, I was a big Winfield guy. I always liked him as a player. Unfortunately, at the time, there was several of us collecting Winfield, and there was always bidding wars when scarcer stuff showed up on eBay. And then a few years into it, I just realized I got way too much Yankee crap in my house. I gotta move on from this, and I decided I was probably going to get out of collecting. And of course, as I started selling stuff, so did all the other people that were collecting Winfield. We all got out of it roughly at the same time, and so the market was eBay was kind of full of all these things, and I lost money on that big time because I look back at some of the things that I purchased and what I paid for them, and I'm like, oh god! But that was collecting back in the late '90s. When autos and relics and things were first coming out, you were paying, for a Winfield auto, you were paying $35-40, where now you might pay $10 to $15, and relics you were paying $10 to $12 a relic, where now you'd be paying 99 cents or $2 for some of them. So yeah, I mean, live and learn, I guess. But as I was liquidating my Winfield collection, I realized I can't just stop collecting. It's in my blood. It's in my genes. So I started collecting Red Sox at that point. And I remember going on eBay and purchasing several large lots of Red Sox cards. And I got back into the hobby that way. I built up to about 5,000 or 6,000 different cards. And then again, it hit me one day. I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I'm never going to get anywhere with this collection. There's so many cards. So I decided to sell again. And I sold the whole lot. I don't even think I got $100 for it. I really don't. I don't even remember. And then about 3, 4, 5 months later, it hit me one more time. My goodness, I want to collect again. So I started up with Red Sox, and here we are. And that was probably about in the year 2000. I don't even know what year that was. It was probably in about 2011 or 12 when I once again decided to start collecting Red Sox again. And I've been doing Red Sox exclusively with a few hiccups, since then. So that's all I collect is Red Sox. I dabbled in PSA graded cards, Hall of Famers for a little bit, and then regular Hall of Fame cards a couple of months ago, but that just took away my focus. And since I've gotten, back to just Red Sox, I've been able to pick up some really cool stuff. And I collect cards, I collect memorabilia. As you can see behind me, this is just a small portion of my basement. I'm going to be doing more videos hopefully soon. I got a mess out in the other room. I've been putting away cards and sorting and organizing, and I've got binders out all over the place. And I don't want to do a video until it's really, cleaned up and looking good. So that's my history, John. I know you're a big Wade Boggs guy, and Boggs spent the majority of his career, or at least the prime of his career, with the Red Sox. And I know you're a Red Sox fan as well, and you prefer Boggs cards in a Red Sox uniform. And we've worked out a couple of trades, and I'm always kind of keeping out in the back of my mind looking for oddball Boggs stuff. If I ever see anything, I'll definitely let you know. But that's my collecting history, and I'm happy to share it with everybody. And it's Red Sox. It's Red Sox. It's Red Sox. That's all I collect. And I know there's a lot of other people. I'm anxious to watch other people's response videos. I know I've gone 13 minutes now. I apologize. I'm a little long-winded sometimes, but in order to tell the whole story, you gotta tell the whole story. So, thanks for listening, everybody. I hope that a lot of people enter the contest, and good luck to everybody who does. And I'm anxious to see other people's videos. And once again, John, congratulations on the 250 subscribers. You certainly deserve it. You put out some great content, and I look forward to watching your videos in the future. All right. Everybody, enjoy your Sunday. Take care.